Hey guys, Bryan here from Liquid Concepts. So today we're going to do a little bit different. We're not going to be dipping anything. We're mainly just going to be talking a little bit about pricing. And so had a lot of questions about it. So you know, we had this grand idea to put big old charts on here and check this out. And so it's just easier to just sit down, take a minute. Let's talk through some of the basics of just how do you price jobs, you know. And so again, every job is different, every shop is different. So this is kind of one of those deals where this is a good baseline of maybe where to start at, but it's never the simple fact of this job should cost this much no matter what. Because every job is different, every customer is different, every part is different. As well as the location that you're in does actually play a big role in how much something does cost, because we all know places like even New York or something like that, even a can of Coca-Cola, it costs a lot more than a place somewhere in like North Dakota or even here in Arkansas or something like that. So the prices will dictate where you're at as well. So kind of wanted to shoot this quick little video, and I'm probably going to be rambling a lot, and so I'm sorry if you don't like that. Then probably skip to the next video because this one isn't for you. But for this video, kind of want to just share a couple of things that we look at whenever we're doing pricing, so then that way we kind of know that, you know, we're going to be still making a profit, how to make that profit, and where we need to be at with that part to make the profit at. So couple of different things, you know. Of course, the first thing is using quality materials. So I know a lot of people, they'll go on there and they'll go to the hardware store, Home Depot, Lowe's, whichever, even Walmart, and pick up a rattle can, Rust-Oleum paint can, a couple of bucks. You can buy them for $1, all the way up to the special spray can nozzles for like $5 or $6. But the biggest thing is that you're not really getting a good quality paint with that. Now, it's cheap, don't get me wrong, a couple of bucks, I mean, who doesn't want to try something like that? But for longevity wise, it's not probably the best thing to start out with. But there again, if you are just starting out, you just want to try it, then sure, rattle cans are probably fine. But the other thing is that you're going to have inconsistent results with it. And so if you don't use the right types of paints, then now you're going to have problems. And so now you're starting to cut into your profit because you're having to re-dip items, things aren't coming out right, things like that. So it's cheaper on the front end, but it's probably going to give you more headache in the long run, and you're definitely not going to be getting the quality of the finishes, especially like what we would put out or anybody would really put out with a actual spray gun, because I think we've said it before, you know, a spray can will never put out the quality of what a spray gun will. Now, of course, that warrants bigger air compressors and a spray gun, and you know, now you're starting to talk a lot more money. But if you're going to be in this industry and you're going to be using good quality materials, you have to have the tools for the job. And so kind of going back to that, with the paint, that's going to be the first thing that everybody says, oh, I can get it cheaper, I can go to Walmart, I can go to wherever and get it. Yeah, you can, I'm not saying you can't, but there's also other things to look at than price on that. You know, if you get a good quality paint and a good quality primer that works, then whenever you look at it in the sprayable ounce, you're actually paying a lot more for that by buying it in an aerosol can than you are buying it in an actual paint that you can spray out of a paint gun. So those are definitely a couple of things to look at, because as you know, even looking at just body shops, that's the reason why most body shops will always use the gallons of paints and primers and clear coats instead of buying aerosol cans. It's not cost effective in the end, and so your profit is going to diminish greatly. So the first thing, like I was saying before, you definitely want a good coating. And so with a good coating comes with good products. And so with those products, you also want to look at the area that you're in, as well as the shop that you're in. So first thing is the area. So you know, if let's just say you have two different customers, one person is in New York, and so they're used to paying a lot higher prices for a lot of things. And so let's just take, for example, we've got this gun stock here. This gun stock, and again, I'm making these prices up, so don't hold me to any of these prices, but let's just say, for example, this gun stock in New York, let's just say it cost $100 to dip it, right? The same gun stock dipped by the exact same person in, let's just say that they were in just a southern state, maybe Mississippi, something like that. You don't have a very populated area in there, and let's just say your population is 20,000. So compared to a couple of million, the cost of living is down, everything's down. So this gun stock, you're lucky to get, let's just say, $65 for it. So it's not the point of that this dip is any better from the guy in New York compared to the guy in Mississippi, but it's the point of the location that you're in how you price your products. Because of course you don't always want to be the cheapest person. A lot of people think that, but there are quite a few people that are customers that will look at that and say, well, if he's doing it for $65 and this other guy's doing it and everybody else across the board is around, say, 100, then they're going to probably start to question whether he's using good quality material, whether it's going to last, things like that. So you definitely want to keep that in mind in pricing the items correctly for your location. But now again, if you're doing all online sales, everybody ships it to you, that's a totally different story. So you just have to price it at what you feel like is competitive for what it's going to take to do that job. So the other thing is that looking at the items themselves, you know, you also have to take into account what other expenses do you have. So of course, number one, you have labor. What are you paying yourself or whoever, even if you have a couple of people working for you, what are you paying them to finish this job? And so looking at it on a piece by piece basis, you may be having to charge $200 just because you've got 1 hour here, 1 hour there, 1 hour there, and so on and so forth. What we like to try to do, and this is where you really start to save a lot of money, is price it out and make sure that you can batch things together. And so what I mean by that is that you know, we may tell a customer, oh, it's going to cost, or it's going to take, say, 3 weeks, right? Well, I can have this done in 1 to 2 days, but it's the point of I will continue to take in jobs for 1 to 2 weeks until I get enough jobs in to where now, instead of me spending 1 hour of time just to turn the booth on, turn the lights on, things like that for 1 hour just for this one stock, now I'm turning the booth on, I'm turning everything on, and I've got all my parts lined up in there, and I'm literally spraying this part with another 20 to 30 other pieces all at one time. So now my cost per part for that 1 hour of labor is gone down substantially. So the other thing to look at is like I said, make sure that whenever you are pricing out your parts, look at it as a whole. You know, a lot of the times to do this one part individually, like I said, it may cost you on paper $200. And so sometimes something like this just isn't worth it, you know. But looking at it to where you can batch all of your pieces together, it really helps out in dropping that labor cost. So then that way you can keep it at a more respectable rate of, let's just say, $65 to $100, something like that. So that's something to definitely keep in mind whenever you're trying to price out your jobs and trying to get the correct pricing for the item that you've got. The other thing is that Some companies will do it on a per square inch basis. Other companies will do it on a job basis. So if I have this come in and I measure this out, let's just say it's 100 square inches. If I'm going to use 100 square inches of material to cover this, then I know that whenever I figure up my sprayable cost of my primer, my paint, my clear coat, all of my film, my consumables, things like that, let's just say that I've got a cost of, say, 10 cents. And that's what it costs me to spray a square footage price or a square inch price. Now, again, I'm making these up, so definitely you're going to have your own there. But on something like this, I've got 10 cents in this part, right? If I take this and I charge, say, 30 cents, even 50 cents a square inch, well, now I'm of course making a profit, but there's also things that you don't take into account. As for instance, sometimes a customer want a candy, so they want a deep, vibrant red, or they want a custom color or something like that. So does that price reflect that? Does it not? A lot of the times it doesn't, because it's not accounted for in that pricing. Now, you can have different pricing structures, things like that, but you know, that's another thing that sometimes for us, we like to price it per job, because even though this one little part may seem pretty easy to do, this one's perfectly fine. But let's just say that we get the next one in, and I've got this little thing like this, which is going to be a bicycle pedal. Well, now looking at this, I'm probably going to have to double dip this. So even though this thing is small, it's actually going to take me a lot more time to do, because I'm going to have to tape this off and do it half and half. Now, again, this is a very intricate part, and of course, you know, it would definitely take a lot of time to dip this correctly. But it's the point of sometimes that pricing structure that you've got at, say, 50 cents a square inch, it doesn't really account for the complexity of that. So you know, sometimes it is easy. It's pretty standard for, you know, a smaller piece that's mainly flat, maybe a little bit of a curve to it. But the other thing is that you've got to look at the part itself. And so that kind of comes in with a little bit of experience on, okay, I've done something like that before, so it's probably going to be about 20 to 30% more, because I know that I'm going to have to spend a lot more time in that one part. Now, again, sometimes the customer doesn't want to pay for that. That's perfectly fine. But I've gotten to where, you know, looking at it from a business standpoint, if it doesn't make you money, then you probably don't need to be doing that job. And, you know, yes, there are exceptions to that rule by far, but at the same time, whenever you go into business, whether you're a plumber or an HVAC, or you're doing a restaurant or anything like that, you don't go into it for knowing that you're not going to make a profit, because the main reason why most anybody goes into business is, number one, they want to be a business owner, or number two, they want to make a profit on it. And so, you know, I'm not saying that charge $1,000 for this piece, and you know, you may have like maybe one person that buys that, but if that's your model and that's the way that you want to go and try to find your customers, where you're at the top 2% of the pricing structure, then definitely that's a great thing to have. There's always going to be those in betweens, but on somebody like this, you know, a lot of the times it's priced out per job just from our standpoint. Now, again, everybody's different, but that's something to take into account as well. So the other thing is that whenever you're looking at everything, it's always good to sit down and look at your total numbers. And so what we like to do is we like to create like an Excel spreadsheet. And so we'll look at it and say, okay, if I buy this primer, then it costs me, let's just say $150 or $200 per gallon to get it delivered to my door. Sprayable, if there's 128 ounces in a gallon, then we'll divide that by the cost that it is, say $200. Then now my cost is somewhere around $1.50, $1.75 a sprayable ounce. And so knowing that this part may take 1 ounce to spray, now I know that I have $2 in primer in this part. And so you can do that for your paint, your primer, your clear coat, do it for your film, things like that, and then come up with a pretty close estimate on how much it's going to take to do this part. And then of course, depending on where your location is and what your actual what all you have as far as expenses wise, that's going to be something that you're going to have to look at and say, okay, what kind of percentage of profit do I need to make off of this? Paying myself, paying the light bill, paying the, energy and all those things, even insurance, it's going to add up. And so that's why I think a lot of the times too, you'll see a lot of these shops where, really, and I see it quite frequently, they'll be doing, like, let's just say a shotgun. They'll be doing shotguns for, say, $100. And yeah, the $100 is really cheap. And a lot of people are thinking, well, how can they do that? Well, a lot of the times, they may be doing it in their backyard, in a shop that's already paid for, or something like that. Their material costs may be substantially less. It's not to say that they're not making a profit at it, but they may be making, say, a 20% profit, whereas if we had a gun come in and we're charging, say, $250, $300, then the cost to do our job isn't necessarily better, but it is possible that, for us to do it the right way, to use all the quality materials, things like that, that's where that cost comes in. And as well as, don't sell yourself short. A lot of the times whenever I was first starting out, I would think, well, I could probably do this, for $100, something like that. And I started to see that I was really selling myself short, because I could do that job and probably get about $200 for it. But it's the point of, I didn't want the customer to walk away, and I didn't want them to leave because, things like that. But, you got to have faith in yourself as well, because if you put out a good quality product, then don't sell yourself short on it, because that's one thing that even in business, just as a whole, you want to make sure that you put out what you're charging. And so, if you're doing super high-end cars, you're doing all the Corvettes and Camaros and Lamborghinis, Ferraris and all that, your price per part is going to be substantially higher, but the expectations of the customer are going to be higher. So whereas I would maybe have 5 hours in this one job, if you're doing a part for a Ferrari or Lamborghini or something like that, you may be charging triple what I would charge, but at the same time, you've got probably double the amount of labor to make sure that that part is 100% correct and completely on point, because that's what the customer is expecting. So a lot of the times, it's very hard to just say, okay, this one part is going to cost $50, and it's never really that simple. But a lot of the time, sitting down, taking the time to go through, create a little Excel spreadsheet, do something like that, write down your actual costs. How much does it cost for you to turn your shop on for a month? If it cost you $100, okay, divide that out by however many hours that you're working in that shop. And then now the minimum that you've got to have to actually have that completely paid for from the jobs that you bring in. The other thing is what is your clientele? Are you catering to the mom and pop out there that just wants something done on a little Honda Civic, or a shotgun or something like that? Or are you catering to a higher end clientele like Ferraris, Lamborghinis, things like that? Because of course that pricing structure is probably going to be a little bit higher because of the expectations and the quality of materials and workmanship that you're going to have. So I know that it's not always as easy as, okay, this part is going to be $50 and you're going to be making a $30 profit on it. I wish it were that easy, but in business, it really never is. I wish there was just a way that you can just type in some numbers and it'll spit out an answer for this part is going to cost, or is going to cost a customer $37.27, and I'm going to make $17.14 in profit. I wish it were that easy, but it's really not. It doesn't account for things like if a dip messes up, now you've got to repaint it. Now that's profit that you're losing. So you have to account for a lot of those things that is going to come into play. And so it even comes into doing like production jobs. We do the same thing with production jobs. We figure out how many parts we're doing, how many parts we can jig up in one spot, how many parts we can do in one setting with the paint booth, and go from there with it. Sometimes we're a little bit more expensive than other companies, other times we're a little bit less. It all just depends on the what all you have set up and what you feel is comfortable for a profit margin on your business. I could sit here and go on and on about different ways and pricing and things like that, and I'm sure I've probably rambled on enough that some people are probably like, you know what, he talks too much, and I'm sorry about that. But there's no real exact way of pricing things out. Like I said, for us, we do it on a per job basis because we've done enough of these jobs that we pretty much know how much it's going to cost for this part or that part or something very odd or something like that. But a lot of the times too, we will go back even before we price them out. We will go back and say, okay, on this job, we are estimating it's going to take 20 ounces of material and 15 ounces of primer and 24 ounces of clear. Add it all up, double check yourself, because you want to make sure that you are making that profit, because you didn't go into business for not making a profit. But like I said, hopefully this has really helped you out. I know a lot of you have always asked, well, how do you price things out, things like that. And that's kind of the general idea and the rule that we go on trying to price things out accordingly to make sure that we are making a profit, to pay our labor, to pay our employees, to pay the light bill, to pay everything that it's going to take, insurance and things like that, to run a respectable brick and mortar business. Now again, everybody's going to be different, whether you're doing it as a hobby or as a full-time business, but hopefully this has really helped you out. If you have any questions, definitely leave them below. We'd love to hear from you. Even other things as far as other videos you'd like to see, definitely let us know. We'll try to get those posted up as well. And if you think that this video has really helped you out, definitely give us a big thumbs up. If it hasn't, give us a thumbs up twice. Make sure you hit the button twice. That'd be great. I really hope that this, this kind of helps you out. Again, there's no real exact way of figuring it, but this will give you a good idea of what we look at whenever we're doing our pricing for our parts. So I'm Bryan from Liquid Concepts, and we're making hydrographics great again. We'll hope to see you guys next time.